Good afternoon, fellas, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I know what you're thinking by the title. Locke, what have you done? What have you done, mate? All right, first, let me set the scene. Let me set the tone for the video so you know what's going on. Welcome to my channel. My name's Locke. I've got a 23 BRZ, and we're kind of just like a casual vlogger, casual modifier. Really enjoying this BRZ so far, and we want to do lots and lots of things to it. So make sure you are subscribed because we've got some good stuff coming. Right, so I have just installed 4 brand new coilovers for the BRZ. Very exciting, great little video. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Now, immediately after I installed these coilovers, Alicia and I went to the gym, which is just down the road. And as I was leaving the garage, I heard some like clunkiness, and I thought it was coming from the suspension. I thought, oh no, what is going on? And I told Alicia to film a little bit of this as we were heading into the gym, and it kind of sounded a little bit like this. Yeah, not great, isn't it? Not great at all. So in this video, we're doing a little bit of troubleshooting, but I just wanted to take you guys along for the journey because, you know, this is a real channel, a real person. I'm not trying to fake anything. And through this channel, I obviously want to let you guys know when I have problems and difficulties with things so you can avoid that yourself in the future. Let me show you what I've done so far. Right, so initially I thought the clunk was coming from the rear. It was very predominant. And obviously in that video, it's a bit hard to tell whether it's coming the front or the rear, but it definitely sounded like it was coming from the rears. So what I did to basically just eliminate the noise coming from the rear is I put the rears back to stock suspension. So I currently have the OEM struts in there at the moment, and I have left the coilovers in the front. I then went and did another test drive, and yet again, I was getting that same clunking noise. Now, it definitely wasn't as loud as the clunking that was coming from the rears, but nevertheless, it was still that same sound. If we figure out and we know what's happening in the fronts and we can rectify that, we can do the exact same thing to the rears and we shouldn't have any clunking. I've currently got my wheel off. I've got it jacked up above the ground. And as you can see, I've got the coilover strut in here. Now, a few things that I have already checked so far. These bolts that connect to the brakes, as you can see, there's one here and also one here. These are supposed to be torqued to approximately 155 Newton meters. So I've torqued those up. I've undone them and I've re-torqued them. So they are schmick, mate, 155 Newton meters. That is going nowhere. There is definitely no movement in them. Coming to the top, you can see we've got 3 bolts that also connect this coilover into the car. And these are also torqued up to the correct setting as well. The top nut right here that connects to the top hat, I'm unable to tighten it any more than what came from factory because I do not have the tool to be able to get in and actually tighten this without moving the inner strut. If you just tighten it from this bolt, the strut starts moving in the inside of the coilover, and that could definitely damage something. So we're just going to leave that for now. Now, I've been on the internet, I've been on all the forums, every single person saying, Locke, mate, it's your end link. Your end link is busted. It's touching the control arm. The end link's not tight enough. Well, guess what, fellas? Here is my new end link here, and as you can see, it is fully adjusted to be as short as possible. There is no sort of movement. It is torqued up to its correct settings, which is about 60 Newton meters, both top and bottom. And as you can see, there's absolutely no touching of the control arm. Otherwise you would see a bunch of marks on that. It's still nice and black. It's definitely not hitting. Right, so the only other thing I can do right now is adjust the preload on the spring. Now I've gone with the recommended settings that Silvers say to put on your preload with your spring, and that is between 3 and 5 millimeters. I've gone about 5 millimeters, and we're still getting that clunk. So I have talked to a few people and they've said you should tighten your spring by hand until you can't tighten it anymore, and then give it one full rotation, and that should be about the preload for your spring. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to reset the preload on the spring. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the distance from the top here to the bottom of this collar. I've just hand tightened this spring until I can no longer tighten it, and I've just measured now the load on the spring, and it is at 146 millimeters. So that's a difference of 9 mil from when we first measured it with 0 preload. Let's tighten this up using this collar, and we will see if that is the fix. So now the only thing is I've got to replicate that on the other side, and then we'll put it back down, and hopefully that fixes our problem. But I'll update you when we get there. I literally just went out of the garage and it clunked. Let me try that again. There's the clunk. I don't even have to drive down to the friggin' shops. Yep, still there. There it is. Far out, man. Oh, I am so off it. Back to the drawing board, boys. Back to the drawing board. All right, fellas, it has been about a week since I've last updated you, so let me kind of tell you where we're up to at the moment. I have been in contact with the suspension company, back and forth phone calls, pretty much just trying to figure out what the problem could be. So I've explained everything that I've done to them. They've asked me to check things, I've checked things, I've sent them photos of the end links, spring, the top hats, etc. So pretty much it's been back and forth, phone calls, a few emails now. And we've pretty much come to a little bit of a stopping point because they pretty much want to determine if it was an install issue. So from their point of view, they will only, I guess, give me a refund or an exchange if I take it to a shop and the shop determines that there's something wrong with the coilovers. Good morning, we are back. Last night I've had a bit of a think about what I'm going to do, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm just going to install the rear coilovers, and I'm also going to lower the car a little bit. We'll see if our knocking goes away in the rear once we tighten the spring up a bit more. So take two, boys, take two. Let's get it going. Now, as previously, I would drop this bolt out of the brakes, but what I've done instead is I've dropped the bolt that connects the end of this control arm up here. So it kind of, you know, levers down. So I think that might be a bit easier to get back up and easier to get the suspension out. All right, we have got the rears in now. I've preloaded them up about 10 mil, whereas the fronts are about 20. The height difference between the collar to collar from the rears is 10 mil more. So that means, if my calculations are correct, we should be pretty close to the same height as the fronts. These bolts are all torqued up to 80 Newton meters and they're all seated really well. So now we'll just put the tire back on and we'll put the car back down, and hopefully we're pretty close to what the fronts look like. All right, good afternoon, fellas. It's actually been about 3 to 4 weeks since the start of this video, And as you can see, like, I'm due for another haircut now. So now I just wanted to give one final update because, well, we've been through the absolute ringer with this coilover situation, and it is not turning out well for us at all. As you know, we've got the clunking coilovers. I have actually been to a workshop now. I got them to look over it for an hour and a half to determine if the install that I did was incorrect, and they determined that it was not. There was nothing wrong with what I had done. All the bolts were seated correctly, the springs were done up tight, everything was tight, and they definitely went through it real thoroughly. They wrote me up an invoice and determined that the coilovers needed to go back to the factory to, I guess, just be looked at, because obviously there was something internal with them that was wrong. But obviously they couldn't determine that there unless they pulled them apart, which obviously is not their job. It's the manufacturer's job. So I sent a nice long email to the manufacturer, gave them that proof, sent them the invoice from the workshop, spent money myself to try and determine if these were defective or not. And unfortunately, the company came right back to me with a very long-winded email and told me that was basically not good enough. We need you to go to a proper suspension shop, get them reinstalled, spend $300 or $400, might I say, get them reinstalled, and then prove to them that it is either my fault or it is the coilover's fault. So yeah, that's pretty devastating to kind of hear. Really disappointing, because I've been through this mob before. I've ordered parts from them. They've always been good. But in this situation, they're being a right pain in the bum with me. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to do at the moment. There's still no change to my situation. So please bear with me, and I'll sort it out, and I'll give you some proper updates as well. So just keep an eye on the Instagram, and I'll let you guys know on there as well. But if anyone in the comments section is watching this by any chance and you have a magical solution for me, then please let me know, because I have tried everything under the sun. A workshop can't figure it out, and I certainly can't figure it out. So yeah, sorry to end it on a bit of a low there, fellas, but hey, at least you know what's going on, and I really hope that we fix this situation real fast. So without further ado, have a good week ahead, and I'll update you soon. See you later, fellas.